Do you want to know what type of parenting is gentle parenting? There's a lot of confusion about that right now. So in this video, we're going to clear that up and let you know what type of parenting is going to be the most effective for your family too. One of the 15 books that I've written is this book here called Popular Parenting Methods, and it talks about the different types of parenting. When parents read this, not only does it help husband and wife get on the same page, because oftentimes one parent's doing one type of parenting and another parent's doing another type of parenting, which makes it hard for them to be unified in their parenting, which makes a lot of confusion at home, but it also talks about how we fall into these little different traps of parenting and what the parenting does to some of our children's behaviors. So we might be seeing a certain behavior and think, why is that happening? And oh, it could be coming from one of these types of parenting. So there's basically only 3 different types of parenting. There's modern progressive parenting, there's bully fear-based parenting, and then there's traditional strict parenting. But what most people have going on is they actually have a mix of the two. So they might be really traditional strict in their principles, which I know that sounds like a bad one, but that's actually the best one. That's like an authoritative type parenting, which is like, I know where I'm going, I know what I'm doing, I know who I am. Like we have a plan, we're following through, and it also is not aggressive or anything. Bully fear-based parenting is super psychologically manipulative and aggressive and oftentimes emotionally very immature feeling. But then also there's a lot of emotional immaturity in the modern progressive type of parenting, which is just hoping to appease the child all of the time. The feelings of the child are really, really important. That's actually the category that the gentle parenting falls into, is that modern progressive style of parenting. But sometimes a parent might actually, have good foundational principles that they're trying to strictly live by. They just get caught into a movement of parenting that emphasizes something that's actually in contrast to what they're trying to do in their personal lives. So there's a whole bunch of parents out there right now who, they were raised with good principles. Maybe their parenting, the way they were raised, wasn't perfect, which is why they tried to branch out to something else. But maybe they're like, religious people or have good character, that type of thing. And they want those things for their children. And then they also want things to feel easy, comfortable. They want their child to be understood. And so they end up finding themselves with gentle parenting. So let's talk a little bit about what happened with that gentle parenting model and why it's not effective. So gentle parenting became really big in like early 2000s, like 2007. Sarah Oakwell Smith popularized the term gentle parenting. It really took fire. She ended up writing a book about gentle parenting in 2015, and it became all the talk on social media. And the whole idea was that children would kind of approve of a parent's parenting, which has never been the goal of parenting. Parenting is to teach children, and sometimes they don't like the lessons they have to learn, but they have to learn them because that's part of their development, it's part of life. But this kind of turned that on its head a little bit, at least as it was popularized on social media, which we could make the case for whether that actually followed what the original author's intent was. I don't think it did. In fact, she's even expressed some regrets about how it's probably was a bad idea to use the term gentle parenting because people really misunderstood what was going on. And maybe she said things a certain way and then realized later there were pieces missing. I don't know. But at the end of the day, people were like, okay, tell me about your feelings, child, and let's affirm the feelings and validate the feelings and let's find whose fault it was for your feelings. And by the way, you don't have to accept any consequences because that would be bad. And people would talk about natural consequences but be completely opposed to synthetic consequences, which are sometimes more merciful and easy to discern for children. And so they're great teaching tools where natural consequences can be more harsh and can also take forever, like years and years to surface for them to even recognize, if they do recognize them. So we're eliminating a ton of teaching moments with that gentle parenting approach. And really just the emphasis on the feelings and how it feels is the big thing. So I teach parenting. I've taught parenting since 1999. I teach a method of parenting called the Teaching Self-Government method of parenting. And it's actually a principle-based approach. So it's like principles of honesty and calmness and self-government and cause and effect, and all the different principles that are required, principles of being able to drop the subject, like understanding how it works inside your head so that you know what to do with it. There's very much a cognitive element to it, where you are cognitively, behaviorally training yourself so that you can have the greatest success, which is one of the jobs that parents have with their children, is to help their children cognitively be aware and solve problems, be able to discern what would be the right or the wrong way, what's right, wrong, good, bad, true, false, right? Learn how to rein themselves in. So there's certain skills that if a parent teaches their children these skills, they will be a much more free and functioning adult. So those 4 basic skills are actually taught I teach them in my Teaching Self-Government approach. In fact, there's books that teach them to young children even. The 4 basic skills are following instructions. There's 5 steps to that. Then accepting no answers and criticism, accepting consequences, disagreeing appropriately. So each one of those skills has a skill set, which means that there's certain things you do. So for instance, for accepting no answers, there's 4 steps to that one. You look at the person or the situation. So let's say someone cuts you off in traffic. You keep a calm face, voice, and body. So you have to know what that is. You have to have a level of awareness and a plan for how to be calm. And then you say, okay, that happened. You accept it. Or you ask to disagree appropriately, or a combination of both. And then step number 4 is you drop the subject, which means you don't think about it all day, you don't talk about it all day, you move on. Well, that was a moment from the past, and now I'm moving forward. So it's this very proactive, deliberate, forward-moving, motivational, high accountability approach. And if the child doesn't do one of those skills, maybe they don't drop the subject, they're whining, complaining, sulking, whatever, the parent would actually do what's called a corrective teaching moment, and the child would get the opportunity to earn negative consequences. Now, that part on the negative consequences sometimes rubs people with gentle parenting wrong, but it shouldn't, because life is absolutely full of consequences. If I yell at you, you're not going to trust me with a lot of things. You're going to take a step back from your attachment with me. That's just cause and effect. That's just a consequence. Now, those are natural consequences, and we want to always talk about those. But like I said, something like earning a little extra chore or something is also very effective. On your phones, there is an app. It's a free app. It's called the Teaching Self-Government app. And you can go to that app. It actually has charts for the 4 basic skills, which you can see, which are fantastic. It also has a job jar, which helps with children earning extra chores and stuff like that. It's a free app. There's podcasts on there. There's videos on there. There's blog posts on there. Also, there's other resources like a Nicholeen bot that you can ask questions and stuff like that if you're part of what's called the TSG community. And you can become a part of the community at teachingselfgovernment.com. But if you get that Teaching Self-Government app, I think it'll give you a little bit of an idea of what I'm talking about with self-government and what it could look like for you in your home with your family. There's also a video here. It's a full-length class on this channel called The Not So Known Secret for Parenting Success. So that's another thing that you could maybe check out. But I highly recommend that free app, the Teaching Self-Government app. You'll get a lot more information there. Anyway, go find the app. I'll see you there.